We're at TotalCon. This is the I think I'm gonna start calling these the tabletop interviews. I think that works really well. I'm Peter Bryant with Talanian Games, and I'm here with Jeff Talanian.
Yes.
Northwind Adventures, right?
Northwind Adventures.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So you've been coming to this con a lot for a very long time.
For a really long time, since I think 2009, 2010, right around there.
Right. And was that in conjunction with releasing your game, or was it prior to that?
It was prior to that, yeah. So my original game came out in 2012, and but I was working on it at that time. So, but at that point, most people knew me for my work with Gary Gygax at the time. So it's funny because I had to send Steve Parento an email this week to ask him a few questions about the con. Mm-hmm. Steve is the director of this con, for those who don't know. And when I went to search his email address, I found the very first time he emailed me inviting me to be an industry guest at the con.
All right.
And at the time, he was asking me if I would be running any of the Castle Zagig stuff that I had done with Gary recently until Gary had passed away.
Right.
So that was some of the stuff that I was running early on, but I was also transitioning to creating my own game, and I was starting to run content for that, even though the game wasn't officially released yet.
Right. Yeah, and that's always a good thing. We've started doing that as well. So when you released your game, what was the goal? Because I like to ask designers, like, why did you want to make a game? Like, what prompted you? Was it just because you'd played games and you wanted to make one? Was there a gap somewhere, something that you were not getting out of the games that you already had on the market?
You know, I had done a lot of freelance work, and I decided that I would like to give it a go on my own and create the system that I would want to play with my beer drinking buddies every Tuesday night.
Right.
So I basically designed the type of game that I wanted to play with my guys, and I thought that, you know, maybe other people would want to buy this too.
Right.
I never did it with the intention of it becoming my full-time job as it eventually became. I thought it would be sort of a, you know,
Fun
side
hobby.
hustle,
Yeah.
hobby project, but it caught on well, and so I was able to turn it into what I do full time.
Yeah, that was actually when I was talking to you before. I mean, a number of years ago, and you told me, "Yeah, I do this full time as my job." I was like, "Wow, that's impressive," because that's a hard sell.
Yeah, I think I started that 2015, 2016, right around there.
And I think we when we talked about this before, you said that conventions actually help fund your. Like coming to a convention actually is like a good chunk of your income.
Yeah, it's like it's not the income of sales at a con that really makes much of a difference. I believe it's that the creating that visual impact of showing your product and the sort of boots on the ground mentality of running a bunch of games and maybe getting some friends to run games and showing off the content to players, because then maybe some of them bring it to their home group to try something out, and it spreads that way, sort of a natural way of word of mouth spreading.
Yeah, I think what that game Shadow Dart, apparently that's what she did a lot.
Yeah, I played with her. I played with her that game before she published it.
Right, apparently she did that a lot with people, and that was a big part of why. My understanding was that was a big part of why her Kickstarter and she's been so successable is because she did a lot of the groundwork, a lot of the homework.
Yeah,
and
she skyrocketed to fame with it. Yeah, it was because she when I played the game with her, it was at a Gary Con, and she wasn't even one of the industry guests yet or anything like that. And now at all these conventions, she's like one of the primary targets for these cons to get there. So she's done really well for herself.
Yeah, it's a good looking book. Right?
Yeah, it's really nice.
But it's not as good looking as your book. No, your book is no. Seriously, in all honesty, I mean, like your books are super nice, and especially like the last one you put out. That was like you could, if you shot it you could kill an elephant with it if you shot him. The thing is, like,
It could protect you from a bullet. Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot of content. So what all is in your big main book? Is it? It's the
Well, I've
rules.
split it
it's
up
the
into
settings?
2 volumes
Okay.
now. So in the first volume, it's basically the rules and the character creation stuff. So it has all your character classes, your character races, all the equipment, the spells, the rules for combat and exploration, and all that stuff. All that is in the first volume. And then the second volume is all the information for the referee, which is information on all the monsters in the game, the different magical treasures, and then there's a gazetteer of the realm in it. Because one of the things that we've done with the Hyperborea game is to merge setting with rules. So there's a lot of games, and with good reason, are generic so that they can cater to different types of genres of settings, right? That you can apply it to fantasy or sword and sorcery or even science fiction using the same rules base. But this game is rules and settings sort of merged together so that they work as one and complement each other.
Yeah, I think, I've played so many games, right? And we've tried everything, our group. And I found that the generic games that don't have a setting or don't require a setting or whatever, they're awesome in that aspect, but at the same time, they're difficult to get people to play a lot of or do a lot with, because a lot of work is left on the person. Like, you go out and you buy this game, and now you still have to do a lot of work.
Sure.
But if you have something comes with a setting, the less work you have to do as a game master, because let's face it, most of the people who are nearly every single person who's a game master is doing it for fun. Right. So
they don't want to have to put in all that extra work.
Tons of work. But people buy modules.
Then it can be the flip side of that is when you get into that sort of analysis paralysis, right? Where the designer gives you too much. Right. And so then you feel like, oh, how can I possibly become an expert on this thing? Right. It's too much to read. It's too much to get into. It'd
be like running a Game of Thrones game if you've never read the books, right? Because it's like, well, I don't know enough about this world to run it.
Well, I always felt like Forgotten Realms reached that point where there was so much Forgotten Realms that you had to have like a PhD in Forgotten Realms to possibly run it, Right. But you can always, what I say to people when they talk about those kinds of problems is I always tell them just pick one small area. And familiarize yourself with, the deities that are being worshipped there, the type of culture they have, what their economy is and whatever. Start small. Could be a town or it could be a small city or whatever. And then build out from there. You don't need to know all the history and cultures and monsters of the whole world setting all at once.
Right. So you come to TotalCon all the time.
Yeah.
What is it about this con in particular that you like? Like, what attracts you to this convention kind of most of all? Like, what is its standout quality that you like?
Well, the thing with TotalCon for me is I look at TotalCon as my home base because I live about an hour away. I'm in southern New Hampshire, and this is I look at this as like home field. So I have so many friends in this area, between fellow gamers, fellow game designers, and coming to TotalCon is like a reunion in a way for me.
Yeah,
it's seeing old buddies and a lot of people that have played in my games over the years that that come back year after year, which is always encouraging because it means they had a good time.
Yeah.
And I guess it's the location and the people, it's like I said, I feel like it's home base.
Yeah. And it's funny because I live down in Maryland. It's a good 6-hour drive to get up here. But we don't have a lot of, we got just recently the Page convention opened up. And so I have one that's actually close to me now.
I thought there was one in Maryland or somewhere in Baltimore.
There are, but they're not, and lately there's been more, like I see cons popping up all the time.
Yeah.
But traditionally Baltimore has been kind of a dry bed for gaming conventions. again, that starting to pick up. There's one we're going to in like a month. It's right down in the city, and it looks to be fun.
Maybe it's time to start Talanian Con.
Oh no! I don't think that's a thing. That's too much work. We're doing an award show tomorrow night or Saturday night.
Yes,
Saturday?
the Golden Festival. I was hoping we would
Festival.
talk about James.
Yeah, we
Yes,
can.
yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna do that tomorrow night, and that was enough work. I mean, we had to review 40 games.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I
but it was
would say.
worth it. It was worth it. I really enjoyed doing that, and it was very interesting being on the other end of the judging.
Yes, I
side
did it
of
one
things.
year at North Texas RPG Con, and when I got that stack of books, I was like, "Oh crap! This is a daunting task." It had to be it took away from fiction reading for me and other types of stuff that I was doing. I had to make that my thing every night.
But I'll tell you, it was very interesting because I got introduced to a bunch of games that I didn't even know existed, and there were some really good games in there.
Oh, very nice.
There's a couple that I intend to play.
Really?
Like, I really do. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't want to talk about them yet.
Right, I know, because you might be giving away.
I might be giving it away in a word.
Right.
Not that anyone will see this video before that one, but they might.
That's true.
It's
That's
possible.
true. This is not a live broadcast.
No. But
Spill the beans. Just kidding.
no. But it was interesting. And if you have a chance to come down, it's.
What time is it?
It's we do the industry party every year. Mm-hmm. It's going to be at the industry party. We're gonna
Oh,
run it
okay.
down.
So Saturday night.
Saturday night, 11:00. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're gonna stream it live.
Oh, I will arrive shortly after. I have a game running until 11.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
So I'll head right over.
With Mike over here running the camera, we'll be running late anyway. I'm kidding. No, we're gonna keep that one super simple. But at any rate, so let's talk about. You said that you released a bunch of stuff in this last year.
Oh yes, yes.
Let's talk about because all right. First off, because there might be people who don't know what what your product is. Your
Sure.
astonishing tales of swords and sorcery, and to go through that just real quick. Give us like a kind of an elevator pitch of what that is.
Sure. So Hyperborea is an old school style role playing game in the sort of Gygaxian Arneson tradition. Rules base with a lot of modifications to it, but it's in the spirit of those types of traditional rule sets. And so the rules are very much old school. And then the setting is inspired by the fiction of Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith, H.P. Lovecraft, and a bunch of other pulp authors like, Abraham Merritt, Jack Vance, Fritz Leiber, all that kind of stuff. So what differentiates it from other fantasy type games is it doesn't have your hobbits and elves and things like that. It's not high fantasy. It's a humanocentric sword and sorcery type of fare.
Right.
So it sort of caters to that pulp fiction sort of themes of the weird tales and different pulp era magazines that were pretty popular back in the 1920s and 30s.
Right.
That type of high adventure type stuff.
Right. It's sort of like a Call of Cthulhu mixed with D&D, mixed
Right.
with some Conan.
But even some of the weird science type stuff.
Right.
So because like in the setting we have like ancient Atlantean technology things that could be found.
Right.
So your barbarian could be exploring these ruins and discover in a basement or something some type of ray gun.
Yeah.
And maybe not know how to use it and think like, oh, this looks like sort of like a crossbow. What happens when I pull this trigger?
Sure.
And so we do have some of those tech type of devices in there, but they're sort of like ancient lost technologies that sort of functionally work as magic items would.
Sure.
So there's some of that element too. Some people aren't into that, so you could always strip that out of the game if that's not your thing.
Yeah, because it's not essential, right? It's not a core.
Right. It's not a core thing, but it is in some of the adventures that we write. There are like, artifacts like that in some of the adventure materials.
So you could have kind of a Thundar the Barbarian feel if you wanted.
I mean, that was that's another one of my primary influences right there is Thunder. That was my favorite cartoon.
Oh yeah, mine too.
Growing
Yeah,
up, I
absolutely
loved
Thunder.
it.
It was the
Absolutely
best.
loved it.
But we're the same age, so it hit right at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the way that opening alone for me, showing the apocalypse to Earth, so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually watched a documentary on that. You should look it up. It's on YouTube, but you can see it for free, obviously.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is I don't know what the name of it is, but there is a documentary on Thunder the Barbarian.
Yeah.
It was actually really cool. It's like, I don't know.
Because Jack Kirby had some
30 minutes.
involvement in its early going, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it was really cool.
I'll have to find that.
So so you got your game. What are the products you've put out in the last? Because we know you got 2 volumes for your main stuff.
Right.
That's like, pretty much all you really need. But all the other stuff, what have you put out?
So the other stuff, the support materials for it, are mostly come in the form of different types of adventure modules, and so each of the adventure modules, what we like to do with them, and these have been written by several different gamers, our adventure modules, and myself included. What each of these typically do is also flesh out a small area of Hyperborea. So you could have a place on the map that is just has a name and maybe a very brief description in the Gazetteer, but this expands on that. It'll give an entire village or an island or anything like that. So it's the adventure modules function as a setting expansion, and then the adventure itself that takes place in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So we recently had 3 that we just released. One is called The Oblation Slab of the Hepatomancer.
Oh my God, it's an awesome name.
Yes. So hepatomancy is like a type of necromantic sorcery in which the entrails of an animal or even a human are drawn out and then used to divine some type of future event. So it's like this evil type of sorcery that's used, and so that's the main villain of that adventure, the Hepatomancer.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was written by Joe Macarone, who's Joe is a longtime friend of mine, and he actually helped me in the early going of the development of the game, working out some of the numbers, statistical stuff. Mm-hmm. So
He's your mathematician?
He's one of them. Yeah, he's a long time friend, and he's one of those guys that I can safely bounce ideas off, and he's not a yes man by any stretch. He'll tell me when he thinks something is crap.
That's a dumb rule.
Right? Yeah. He said those words to me before. And then, so the next adventure out of the 3 new ones that we just did is called The Vanishing Isles of the Summer King. And that was written by Jonathan Bingham. Jonathan is a longtime artist that I've been working with over 10 years. And he had always wanted to write something for Hyperborea and not just draw stuff.
Right.
So he presented to me this idea of this heretical druidic sect that live on this island that has gone incommunicado for decades.
Right.
And so the adventure sort of is based on the player characters either being hired by druids, or if there's a druid in the party, being assigned to go investigate these islands way off in the ocean where this sect went off to live, and see what became of them. And of course, the adventure develops from there.
Nice.
And then the third adventure is written by Ben Ball. Ben has written a lot for Hyperborea. He actually writes a lot of the free resources that we have on the website. He does all kinds of different sword and sorcery type generators for us and stuff. But he wrote a fantastic module some years ago called Beneath the Comet. Okay. And that's been a very steady seller, and people love his stuff. So anyway, he wrote a new one called The Thousand Eyes of Thaumagoria.
These are great names.
You're right.
Yeah.
So Thaumagoria is like this demon lord in the setting. Right. And that adventure is about going up to this sort of savage coast that is populated by these various orc tribes, and finding this fortress of this warlord who lives there, who is known for having discovered this salt mine. And this salt mine has this sort of red salt that it has magical properties to it. And this guy has gotten rich with this salt. And so he's hiring adventurers because he lives on this savage coast where all these different orc tribes are living. And so the adventurers get hired to go work for him, and then the adventure develops from there.
And then trouble ensues.
Yes, of course. You know how that goes.
Yes. Wouldn't be very much fun if it didn't.
Right. What are you going to do? Go there and work for him as a basket weaver?
Right. I want you to make your shoveling roll. Right.
Yeah, you get to work in the salt mine now. Right. Now you can just dig.
Yay! What a fun adventure.
Right. So 3 new adventures that we recently. 2 of them are in hardcover because they're around a little less than 100 pages, and then one of them's a soft cover, your typical type of saddle stitch module.
Right.
So that's the most recent support material. So to answer your original question, the different supplements that we come out with for Hyperborea are mostly adventure based, but we also do other cool stuff too. Like we have dice and T-shirts and merch and stuff like that.
And I got a set of your dice, the Northwind dice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're nice. Yeah. And then didn't you have like a big like cloth like map?
Yes. I do those about once a year, and they always sell out. It's a high end item. I think they sell for like $165.
Wow.
And it's this huge high end canvas map. And some people frame them, some people use them on their gaming table or whatever.
Right.
But that's kind of a specialty item that I only do once in a great while. It's funny because you mentioned that, because I've just started to get like some requests for it. When are you going to do the cloth map again? I'm like, all right, I guess there's more people who still want this thing, because you never know who wants to spend $165 on a map. But some gamers really enjoy the high quality nature of it instead of just having your typical folded up paper map.
And who did that map for you? Because it's nice looking. It's really nice
I actually got those done by U-printing.
No, I mean the map. It's the drawing.
The drawing
the
itself
art of the
map.
Yeah.
The art is done by Glenn Seal, long-time artist and cartographer of the game. He's done. He's had his hands in almost every one of my products since about 2014, 2015. Whether it's drawing stuff or usually doing a lot of the map work. He does incredible work. He has his own small publishing company called Monkey Blood Designs.
Nice. Okay.
And he has his own setting that he does for that. And he's a brilliant creative and real pleasure to work with. Great turnaround times too.
Yeah, awesome. That's good and reliable. Dependable.
Yes.
Because I have talked with other creators, and that seems to be that tends to be the number one complaint when it comes to what problem did you have with art? It's almost never the quality. It's almost always the accountability.
You get to learn the pace of different artists that you work with. You know that there's certain ones that have a quick turnaround time, and there's certain ones that they tend to be more quiet and they're going to take a little longer. Mm-hmm. And then there's others that you learn about that become unreliable, that they may, show interest in taking a job or an assignment and then sort of disappear. So you live and learn. It's like anything else.
Yeah. So you've got, how many events do you run at this con usually? And you got a whole crew, right? So you got multiple people.
There's different people running games, yes. So we have a room in Wayland that's a Hyperborea themed room where different games are being run. And then in the vending hall, we have a Northwind Adventures booth where we're selling different stuff that I talked about here today.
Right. And do you spend a lot of time in the booth?
Yes, both.
Okay.
Both, yeah.
Because I always come down and see you like running your booth. Yeah. And then I'll see you running games. I mean, you got to be tired by the end of all this.
Yeah, that's tough. Because
you probably don't get to play any games, do you?
Right. So there's been some cons recently that I've gone to that I've said, I don't think I'm going to do the booth this time. I just want to run a bunch of games. Mm-hmm. But this one is, like I mentioned, is so close to home that it's easier to just bring the product here.
Yeah, you haul your product
instead of
FedExing boxes and boxes of books somewhere.
So some cons I just run games, and when I do that, I tend to run a lot more games. This con I'm kind of light on running games because I'm at the booth all day, and like you said, it's kind of exhausting. I'm not getting any younger,
Right.
So it's like at a booth all day and then running games can be kind of tough.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I almost always overdo myself. I almost every time I'm going home on Monday and going, I can't keep this up. I'm going to die. It's just like I'm doing too much. I can't.
Yeah.
So this year I made sure that I had time in between to kind of wind down a little bit.
You know what's a good idea that takes the sort of the middle of the road? Run some 2-hour games.
I do. Today I have a 2-hour game.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing a game.
Yeah.
But it's not extensive,
Right. Because you feel like you can have a good quality session and still have a beginning, middle, and end to it if you plan accordingly.
Yeah.
And it's just not the slog that a 4-hour event is.
That can be. I mean, it doesn't sound like much, right? Because you game with your home crew and everything like that. But it is because it's not your home crew. You're on point. You've got an audience. You're running this adventure. You're explaining the rules to some people.
Sure. Yeah.
You're having to coach some people sometimes.
Yeah.
And you're just more on. You're just more on,
right,
as it were. So at the end of the 4-hour game, you're kind of like, whew, which is way more like draining than like your home game. Because your home game, you're like, all right, guys, let's take a break real quick. I'm gonna get a cup of coffee. I gotta go pee or whatever.
And you slip into side conversations.
Yeah.
And then someone eventually will say, all right, are we playing this game or what?
Yeah, right. Oh my God, so many. We've actually done entire nights where we didn't game. It has happened. We sat down, we started talking. We would like game for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then back to talking. And then next thing you know, it's just like, oh, well, I guess we'll game next week.
Yeah. I felt like that a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And during our session, we were late to start. And then when we did start, they were off to go on an adventure somewhere. And they decided to start supplying for the adventure. They spent the whole damn night shopping.
How about getting a game going off the rails thanks to alcohol?
Yeah, that can happen.
I've had people. Just in case you didn't hear, Mike was on because we're mic'd and Mike's not mic'd. He's what about alcohol taking it off the rails? We've had nights. I've passed out. I'm not like passed out like passed out at the table, but I have gotten too many drinks in me. Had been really tired at the table and was just kind of like nodding off and not paying attention.
Right.
I think even one time I was like, I need to go lay down. Right. And then I did not come back to the. But those are few and far between.
Your guy's holding the torch in the back.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of few and far between because, it's just. It's not conducive to drink that much in games.
Right. No, it's not. Yeah. I mean, when we were in our 20s, we definitely did a lot more of that sort of thing, because we had the stamina for it. Now I think most of us are sippers these days.
Yeah. God, I imagine you remember back in the day, back in the day when you were like a teenager playing, right? And we
used to do all-nighters.
Marathons,
Yeah, we'd do all-nighters.
Game for like 15, 16 hours.
Yeah, we would play every day in the summer.
Oh, yeah, we
would like do pick-up baseball games or basketball, and then we'd go in and play D&D, and then we'd go outside again. Those were the days.
We used to go over to this one guy's house. He was the kid with the pool, right?
So kid with the pool.
So everybody always... I mean, we would have hung out with him anyway, but we wound up hanging out at his house.
Yeah.
He's the kid with the pool. Mm-hmm. But we would swim and then go down in the basement and role play for the rest of the day. Right. So that was...
yeah, those were the good old days.
When our parents are like, oh my God, you spend so much time playing those games. Is there something wrong? You should go outside where there's sunlight.
Yeah. We had a healthy mix of both in my neighborhood.
We did. I mean, most of the time when we went out and played, we would like get the padded sticks and beat each other up.
Oh, yeah, we did that too. We used to take the trash can lids, those were shields. And sticks and just have battles,
Wounds?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got lots of those.
Yeah.
I got knocked out one time.
Yeah, the worst I think I ever got was when some kid used like a stick that was really flexible and it came around at me and it was like a whip on and I wasn't wearing a shirt. It was like a whip on my back and my God, I had this welt that I think I had all summer.
I'll tell you, there's one more. So talking about things like you probably didn't think it was going to do that, right?
Right.
Well, my buddy shows up one time. He put a tennis ball in a tube sock and then taped it to like a piece of wood as a handle.
Yeah.
Right? And he's whipping his flail. And we're thinking, none of us thought it was going to be that bad.
Right.
Like, what's a tennis ball? Get hit with a tennis ball? Big deal. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're weapons for a reason, that momentum, that angular momentum.
Right.
And then we're fighting and we're fighting in the grass, and it was kind of like the grass was kind of dewy still. So the sock was picking up all this moisture off the grass. It was a big, heavy, wet sock.
Yeah.
And then the ball got soaked. And then I got hit right in the mouth. It busted both my lips. I was just like, okay, that weapon's out.
Right,
That
right.
is not. We're
How
not.
about bottle rocket fights? Did you ever do those?
Yeah.
Just not the face.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
How do you predict that?
So we were playing. Kids were so stupid. We were playing a game one time. We were like whipping slate at each other, and no one thought that they were, someone was really going to get hurt until one of them, ping.
Right. Well, how about making dynamite? We did that too.
Yeah, sure.
Because we found out that an M80 was what's called a quarter stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
So naturally, a quarter stick of dynamite, you want to splice four of them together.
Right, yeah.
You're like, I want to create dynamite.
So for anyone watching this who's under 40 years of age, just remember Gen X, don't mess with us. Because we survived.
I can't believe I still have all my fingers.
Right. We survived that.
Yes.
So, all right, Jeff. Well, I'll see you around the con. Thank you.
Great to see
It's been
you.
great seeing you. And,
It's
keep
always a
watching
pleasure.
for more videos.